și a unui parc industrial. Da? Și unui parc. Da. În urma... Nu, înainte de asta. În urma evaluărilor efectuate cu privire la tendințele de dezvoltare economică din zona Dobrogei, cu Dumana, deci din zona Dobrogei, și a studiilor efectuate de colectivul clusterului, au fost identificate o serie de oportunități privind evoluțiile economice în vederea tranziției către economia verde, virgulă, inițierea exploatațiilor sau dezvoltarea exploatațiilor offshore pe platforma continentală a Mării Negre. Precum și dezvoltarea agriculturii și a sectoarelor vizând creșterea albastră în zona Mării Negre. Pentru a adresa aceste tendințe, a fost definit un concept de parc științific Andreea, tu mă auzi? Hello, hello, Evie. How are you?
Hello, good morning.
How was the Easter holidays?
Very nice, very nice. We have snow again here in Belgium.
Really?
Yeah.
So, we are together with Professor Skolka. He is the Dean of the Faculty for Natural Sciences at the University of Constanța. Mrs. Evie Cobjean is the project coordinator for this very nice project that is called European Blue Schools, the network of European Blue Schools. And we have a very nice collaboration. We have also Dr. Elena Stoica, who is heading the laboratory for microbiology from the Research and Development Institute on Marine Sciences here in Constanța. So in this context, let's say we have a very nice, let's say, gathering. And also we have to inform you that we have more than 170 registered participants. So probably not all of them, they have already connected. But yeah, we are expecting to have a very good audience, starting from Azerbaijan up to Albania, Romania, and this whole region. So it is a very, how can I say, a very significant interest for this event. So we are waiting a few minutes. And meanwhile, if you want to test your microphone, so with Eddie, we already did it. Marius, can you open your microphone?
Yes, of course. It's okay. I hear you very well.
Thank you. Maybe you want to check also with this slide sharing to see share screen.
I don't think will be a problem.
Okay, but let's start. Try with Evie. Evie, can you have down there share screen? Just push the button, check if it works, and then stop sharing. Yeah, this is very good. Okay, so now please stop sharing. And then Professor Skolka, please check also yours.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's
you
okay.
Have to select the.
Yeah, I know. I work for something.
Okay. Okay. So stop
it's
sharing
okay.
In this case.
Okay. Yes.
We should not learn all your secrets.
Yeah, all the problems.
So, Dr. Stoica. Can you also check the microphone and share screen?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you very well. Loud and clear.
Oh,
and now let
great.
us see you can share your slides.
Yeah.
There is down there a button that is share screen, green.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I cannot hear you.
So probably it is a problem of your speakers.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. Can I send you my presentation via email to post it?
Please.
Okay,
Please
I will do it.
So
I will do it right now.
Yeah, please send me your presentation and we shall show it from here, and you will just present.
Okay, yes, I will do this.
Okay, so meanwhile, we are starting at 11 sharp here time in Constanța, Romania. So we would like once again to thank you all for accepting our invitation. It is a very important challenge for all of us to set up such a meeting. You know that in all Europe and in our countries there is a very difficult period with this crisis of new waves of increasing numbers of infected persons and different other connected situations. For instance, also we had a problem with Dr. Lepădatu, that is one of the lecturers for this event. Unfortunately, just 2 days ago, she had a very, very difficult state, and at present she's now at home, but she has some very difficult symptoms, and probably she's following this because she told us that she will try in any case to follow, but she will be not able to make the presentation. We shall upload her presentation in the website of the event. So yes, it is a difficult time period when we discovered that we were thinking that we know so many things about this world. We understood and we learned that we are so weak, and there are so many unknown and unmanageable aspects that are beyond our capacity. And from that perspective, it was a very painful lesson from this perspective. On the other side, of course, we like to say that any kind of difficulties and crises are also coming with some opportunities. And from that perspective, we could say that, yeah, in this almost 1 year of crisis, we learned a lot. We learned how to reconsider our way of doing the things, of collaborating, of connecting and interacting between us. So this unprecedented development of digital connections using the technologies for communication, but also for interaction, it will be a cornerstone for the future evolution of all these activities. So in this context, it was also possible the organization of this event that is a very complex event. So it looks like a simple course, but in reality, it has many different ingredients that we shall reveal very, very soon. So first of all, we would like to inform you, for those who are not, let's say, directly involved in this activity, that the initiative on blue growth, that means the initiative on promoting sustainable development in coastal areas around the oceans, seas, but also along the banks of rivers and wetlands. So this initiative has been, let's say, promoted on a global scale. In Europe, it has very clear path with some very specific type of programs and strategies. And starting with 2015, we have seen also the movement and the interest for the Black Sea region. So particularly with the support of the European Commission, it was possible that starting with 2016 and 2017, there were some coordinated activities to evaluate the current status in the region and to organize coordinated cooperation between different type of actors around the Black Sea. And in 2018, also the Black Sea Universities Network has been invited to join this working group that was supported and of course on the same time guided by the DG Mare, the specific directorate for actions on sustainable development in coastal areas. And in 2018 in Burgas, it was presented the vision paper on a strategy for innovation and scientific research on blue growth in the Black Sea region. And further, the working group continued this activity under the coordination of a team from the Middle East Technical University, the Institute for Marine Studies, located in Erdemli. And this activity that involved a very broad grouping of representatives of different institutions succeeded in May 2019 in Bucharest to present the document that is called and accepted and adopted at present as the Strategic Research and Innovation Agenda for Blue Growth in the Black Sea region. This activity has been immediately followed by the ministerial meeting, also in Bucharest, the ministerial meeting of the Ministry of Transport from the region, and it was signed the document dedicated to the supporting of common maritime agenda for the Black Sea region, two fundamental documents that are the pillars that further on will be, let's say, the guiding, let's say, the guiding documents for the activities that are followed at present. So at the same time, we have to mention that the European Commission established, together with the Romanian Foreign Affairs Ministry in Bucharest, a special unit, a facility for coordinating activities on blue growth in the Black Sea region. And this whole process then was supported by different dedicated funds, particularly under the Horizon 2020. It has been initiated a project that is called Black Sea Connect, a coordinated action, coordinated and support action that is aiming the establishment of a framework by mapping the major players in the main components of the strategic research and innovation agenda. So actually we are talking about 4 pillars that are starting from identification of gaps on fundamental research, large facilities of research, involvement of business community and innovation, and of course, capacity building by education, training, and different other similar activities. So this whole concerto, let's call it like this, so where is bringing all these different types of actors from all these countries, it is a magnificent, a fantastic moment, and it is unique, the fact that we are leading this process here on the Black Sea. And of course, it is a wave that is starting because different other actions are taking place. At present, there are several other projects that have been funded by the European Commission in the new calls, and these projects for sure will generate other projects and other activities, and in this way the let's say attention, the concern on the crucial problems of the Black Sea are taking or getting a significant importance, and this is fantastic, as I was saying. So in this context, of course, we start on revealing this huge, let's say, problem of the cleanliness and of the quality of the habitat, the tremendous level of pollution that we are facing in the Black Sea region, and it is also extremely important, and it has to be underlined always, that the pollution in the Black Sea region is only in less than 40% due to the riparian countries. So 60% of the pollution in the Black Sea is coming from the feeding rivers of the Black Sea. I'm talking about Danube, that is draining a huge area from northern and central Europe and is bringing all these pollutants into the Black Sea. But we are talking about Dnieper, which is also a very large river that is also draining with a huge catchment area in the northern part of the Black Sea, and the other smaller rivers. But what is extremely important, it has to be mentioned also, that the connectivity between the Black Sea via the Turkish Straits to the Marmara and the Aegean is not only one-sided flow. So there is not only a transfer of all these pollutants from the Black Sea to the Aegean and the Mediterranean Sea. There is a two-sided flow. So we have a flow from the Black Sea with all these pollutants into the Aegean, but on the other side, we have a flow from the Aegean with all their problems in the Mediterranean back to the Black Sea. So there is such a very complex connectivity, and in this huge connectivity, we discover that the things came to such a level where at present it is the need of a huge effort of everybody. So there is not something that has to be done by the governing authorities. It's not only that can be done by the local authorities. It's not something that can be done by the scientists or business community and so on. It is a problem of all of us. And this is the major aspect that we learned, and we have to come together, work together, and identify solutions together. So in all this process, of course, every time we are considering that education has to solve this problem. And unfortunately, education is, from many perspectives, the area in the society with very weak resources and with so many problems that have to be fixed. But in all this context, there are also courageous peoples, and I would like to introduce now Evie Cobjean. She is the project manager of a very ambitious project of establishing a model of schools and a cooperation framework between the schools of Europe on promoting the blue growth from many perspectives. And this project, of course, is something like a lighthouse project, because is paving the road for such a broad cooperation. I kindly ask Evie to introduce first herself and then to introduce us this very important, let's say, undertaking, the European, the network of European Blue Schools. Evie, please.
Thank you, Eden, for your kind words. Let me share my screen. So, I work for the European Marine Science Educators Association. We are a network of educators and scientists in Europe who are really engaged with teaching about the ocean and seas. I'm here to present today the network of European Blue Schools, an initiative by the EU for Ocean Coalition, which has the support of DG Mare, Maritime Affairs and Fisheries from the European Commission. And I work here together with Ciencia Viva, but my colleagues could not be here today, so I also represent them. So we live on a blue planet, as you know, so without the ocean, there would not be life as we know it today. Many of the European citizens, they are not aware of the importance of the ocean and the seas and the challenges and the opportunities they offer us to support our economy, livelihoods, and also our well-being. It comes as no surprise to you, perhaps, that the ocean is not an essential part of the school curricula. Before we started this project, we studied a sample of the curricula in Europe and found that, yes, there are ocean topics in primary school, secondary school, but they are very fragmented and they really fail to mention the importance of the ocean for our planet, life on our Earth and our economy. So from this study, we can really conclude that the school curricula, they reflect the typical ocean blindness in our society. So to bring the ocean more on a long-term basis to schools on a European scale, European Commission, DG Mare is challenging schools to find the blue and become a European Blue School. In European Blue School, teachers and students, they explore via project education how they are connected to the ocean or the sea, whether they live close by or far away. So with the project, I mean, here are a few examples of the projects that have been developed. For example, in the middle, you see a school in Romania that has collected algae that lie on the beach, and they kind of smell there, they're disturbing. And with these algae, they developed a biofuel in the classroom. So it was a very, very nice project. So, but a school project, it can be about anything, as you can see. There's a really wide range of topics that you can tackle in a school going from technology in a technology course, economics, language, about anything, art, sports. So there's always something blue to be found in school. It's simply a matter of identifying a topic. So the whole program has 3 main goals. First of all, the European Commission wants to create a more ocean literate society, and where the schools, they can also become agents of change and sustainability for the ocean and seas. So not only policy, but schools as are the catalyzers of starting a small project. Secondly, we want to create a better connection between ocean stakeholders and schools. So where students can work on real life issues with ocean professionals, they can support them and be an inspiration to address existing ocean topics in the classrooms. And thirdly, of course, we want that the schools, they share experiences and collaborate with schools from their own country, but also internationally. And for this, they can build on the experiences of each other and can thus enhance the quality of ocean education. We also want to give the teachers and schools who are making a change in their community with their ocean project some visibility, local visibility, national and international visibility, and a reward for that. A teacher often develops a very magnificent project, but never gets the recognition for it because they put a lot of time and effort in these projects after school hours. We also want to map all the existing initiatives all over Europe and put them really on a map to show how schools care about the ocean and seas. Why should you become a blue school if you're a teacher here? Well, first of all, in a blue school, you get to explore with your students active European citizenship via ocean subjects and how you can connect the local to the European scale. We also want to work on education for sustainable development that is at the heart of the EU Blue School mission. So schools can show their students how their own little actions can help to achieve SDGs by making ocean-friendly choices and taking action on a current ocean-related issue that is important for your community. As every school has to work with ocean stakeholders to become a blue school, we want to provide them with more opportunities to get to know the blue sector in their region and possible careers. That's also a very important reason. The Blue School program, you heard, it's not curriculum based. Europe cannot change the curricula. It is a very tedious process to change even a national curriculum. So we decided to do it project based. And it's also very nice if you work on a project that you can let students explore and investigate real life topics. And you have your teacher and your ocean professional as a mentor to guide you. Of course, outdoor learning is very important. Going outside the school, build a connection to the sea. That is a key element. And then finally, the schools that have developed a blue project can receive that certification, that recognition, and they can become part of the whole network. So on the certification, the applications are already open. And if you have an ocean project, you can already submit it by the 15th of May. And in September, we open another call, of course. And we have 2 calls per year. And then you become part of the network. And in this network, it's not only schools that you will find there. It's also research institutes, universities, education centers, NGOs that are collaborating with schools. And they are the main provider of ocean school resources and education activities on ocean-related matters. You can also find professionals there from the blue sectors who have an interest in education in the network. Voilà. For teachers, we have developed a handbook with a lot of inspiration if you want to develop a project, and there is a step-by-step guide in there. Voilà. Before I finish, if there are any scientists or marine professionals here with us today, please, I would like to ask you for your help, because addressing the ocean in or outside the classroom, that is not the easy route for a teacher. Teachers are often not familiar with complex ocean topics, and they often lack good resources in their own language on their region that are applicable to them. So scientists, you can assist them by sharing your knowledge, sharing your skills, co-designing projects with the school, and build a more long-term relationship with them. That is also very important. Voilà. So I hope that all of you who are here with us today that work in a school or work with schools, that you can become part of the European Blue School community. And yeah, these days things might get rough along the way. So for scientists, it's finding a common language between scientists, teachers, students. That is not easy. Times are very challenging as well, especially for schools. So, but we are convinced that even in a time of this global health crisis, marine education is an important piece of the solution to tackle some of the problems we are now confronted with. But we look very much forward to get to work with you to build this network and to take on board a lot of the schools and professionals from the Black Sea region. Voilà, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Corjean. So this activity related to the promotion of blue schools here in Romania, we took it, let's say, from a systemic point of view. So we started 1 year ago an institutional partnership with the school inspectorate here in the county of Constanța. And it was a framework based on which we initiated a system of consultations, of identification of problems. So we sent questionnaires to the schools from the county and from different teachers. We received many feedbacks. There were more than 100 feedbacks from the teachers, presenting us their activities and presenting also different type of projects in which they have been involved. Some of them in collaboration with different organizations. We have an NGO that is very active here, Mare Nostrum, and they are one of the very important players and catalysts and initiator and supporter of such activities, and also different other institutions. And then we had some let's say iterative type of meetings with the teachers. Then we established a list of priorities that we could work on. Some of them being dedicated to developing activities, some others being dedicated to support capacity building, training, and so on. So then we started our contacts with the team that is coordinated by Mrs. Corjean, together with the colleagues from the project consortium. And last fall, we had a joint workshop where we had the opportunity to discuss about what means these European blue schools and what kind of activities can be developed, what means an activity that has to be developed, and so on. So in principle, after this, let's say, type of contacts and presentations, we started to identify schools that are interested to join this, let's say, very nice initiative. So at present, there are 7 schools that have been identified, that have sent us the letters of their interest from Constanța County, from Tulcea County, from Galați, and from Brăila. And these schools, they have also appointed a group of professors, of teachers, that are now initiating the activities in their own schools. So on the other side, we have identified the need for a training of trainers for activities related to this, and discussing with the colleagues from the school inspectorate, we decided to invite a new partner in this activity. Is an institution which is called the Teachers Corps, the Casa Corpului Didactic, the House of Teachers Corps. And this organization that is very experienced in developing training and support activities for the teachers. Now in this partnership, we are working to define the curriculum and the content for a course that will be certified and will be offered according to the regulations here in Romania for training the trainers. So here we already have a clear, let's say, content for that. We need just to finalize the huge file that has to be documented and has to be submitted to a national agency for certification. And we hope that by the horizon of the next summer, we shall be able to initiate this activity. On the other side, we are coordinating also our activities with Mrs. Covjan regarding different other possible, let's say, type of courses. And we are very grateful also for her participation in such a short period after the Easter. You know, in our part of the world, after 1 week before and 1 week after the Easter is quite difficult to organize something. So we really thank you for being available and helping us by participating to this event. So we are in this process. So we know and we have the support of different, let's say, research groupings and different other experts in the field. We hope very soon to be able to say the same thing about the financial support coming from different organizations. And here we have a little problem. We sent a letter to our Minister of Education and also to the Minister of European Funds that is coordinating the funds that are allocated for different programs. And we are very happy that also the institution of the Romanian president that is involved in education activities identified the need for supporting education on sustainable development. And for sure, we shall have some calls in by the end of this year, the beginning of the next year, under the program for relaunching and resilience of European Union that will be dedicated to Romania. And under this program, we hope that there will be some specific topics for developing projects for this. So it is a timing that we are following, getting the knowledge and experience from our European colleagues to start preparing our projects and to support the teachers from the Romanian schools to be able to address those calls by the end of this year. Besides of that, of course, there are different organizations at a small scale, of course, some supermarkets, some different other companies that are offering some small grants, a few thousand euros or something like that for these kind of activities. So we have identified a number of projects. We have also the project that I mentioned, the Black Sea Connect project, that is offering a very limited amount of support for such activities. So with all these elements, we consider that we are moving forward. So I would like at this point to draw your attention that Mrs. Cobjean posted on the chat the link for this Blue School initiative platform. And also I kindly invite the participants to use the facility questions and answers. So to post different questions for the presentations that are made. So at this point, just before introducing Professor Skolka, I would like to have a question to Mrs. Cobjean. So under this initiative, the European Blue Schools, do you have a figure at present how many schools are already active and have been certified? And how long it takes for a school from the moment then they are acquainted with this initiative up to the moment of certification?
At this stage, we have about 100 schools who took the pledge to become a Blue School. So they expressed their wish to develop a project. But since there have been, I think we are in the third wave now, some schools have not been able to open. So for now, we have about 25 schools who actually applied to become a Blue School, and about 20 of them have already received the certification or the notification of this, because we will have an event in June where we will, a ceremonial event where we'll grant all the certifications. We expect that more schools who took the pledge will now apply, because this is the month of March, April, May. We expect that some schools will open and they will have the opportunity to go outside the school or talk to an ocean professional, because that is the things that are now blocking the entire project. So we hope to have more schools by then, but our expectations are kind of low since this is such a difficult year. But I want to congratulate all the teachers who take the effort to develop a project just with children sitting inside and in their homes. So I think it is really a nice opportunity, because if you take your students out now to the beach or to the riverbed to clean up even, and teach them about where the litter comes from, it's a small effort. So I think, yeah.
I also would like to emphasize this problem, because being a teacher, you know, it might be quite easy. I mean, you go to your classes, you have a schedule of going to the class and presenting some topics. You present those topics. Nowadays, you can make it also online via different platforms. And you prepare some slides, you prepare an exercise, and that's it. I mean, you can that you are a teacher and you could explain very clearly, but the pupils, okay, they are not interested, or they don't want to learn, and so on. But actually, the process of learning, of getting acquainted, of feeling the reality is a very, very complex activity that is and cannot be restricted only to the classroom. It requires a far beyond types of activities. And those activities are not formal. Many of them are non-formal type of education activities. Going, showing, asking, suggesting, playing, interacting, and so on. So from that perspective, a teacher that would like to be involved in an activity that was presented by Evie is a very, very hard and difficult type of activity. It's not only the problem of some time that you're allocating for this. There are many aspects that you have to learn, many connectivities that you have to make, many people that you have to understand and talk with in order to accept just a visit of the pupils to a museum or to the shore of the sea, or to touch something, and many responsibilities that you take for that. So from all these aspects, I would like to congratulate the teachers that are involved in this process, and they are doing their job in the spirit of educator. So taking this mission and bringing actually to something that is the effective learning that is achieved by the pupils. So once again, thank you very much, Evie, for participating here. There is now this contact. Also here in Romania, we can also facilitate the contact for all the teachers if they want to be, let's say, informed about the activities of this network. And we also promise that very soon we shall have also a course together and supported by the network of European Blue Schools that will be offered by a company dedicated to bioeconomy, and this will be also a very nice opportunity to be together and work effectively on this kind of activities. Now, with your permission, I would like to go further, and we wanted to show the resources that are available in universities and research institutes. So from that perspective, we invited, and I would like to thank to Professor Marius Skolka, the Dean of the Faculty of Natural Sciences here at the Ovidius University of Constanța, a faculty with a long tradition and a tradition that was dedicated to education activities. We all know probably that in 1961, it was established the Institute of Pedagogical Studies, and since then there were many activities dedicated to training the teachers and to support the teachers over this significant number of decades. So, Professor Skolka, please be so kind and present to the audience the courses and the resources that you offer for training, educating, and capacity building on Blue Growth.
Yes, good day, everybody. And in the first, I had to thanks Professor Mahmoud to invited me today to be at this event. It's very interesting to see that the idea of sustainable development and the blue growth and the Green Deal is more and more in the society. Before I present my presentation, I had to underline the essential role of the teacher in the education of the young generation. You know, if we want to have informed society, we have to start earlier and to convince the children, the pupils, the students that the problems of the environment are real, and if we don't take care, nature can react very hard for us. By my side, I had to thank also to my former teacher of biology in the primary school, because of her, I'm here today in front of you. She understands the importance of the biology knowledges and try to take us as much as she can in the outdoor to see some problem, to see some plants, animals, and only in this way you can understand that problems. And also I'm very glad that Professor Mahmoud said earlier that we have some organization in Constanța that are doing very well in the idea to promote sustainable development in the schools, and not only. That organization, Mare Nostrum, it's formed at the base by our former students who involved in this kind of problem. They're not the only environmental ONG in our city. We have also former students in other ones, but Mare Nostrum is one of the most fitted on this topic. Now I speaking about. Excuse me, I have to share the screen first. Speaking about the blue growth in our faculty and in our university, you know, the blue growth is a new concept. The sustainable development is not such new. And if we speaking about the university level, we had to have in mind that we are form future teachers, future specialists in different kind of specialities. In our faculty, Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Science, we have undergraduate studies in biology, ecology, agriculture, geography, horticulture, and geography of tourism. And also we have some master studies dedicated to each domain: biomass, biodiversity conservation, analysis and assessment of environmental impacts, green agriculture, monitoring and control of quality of products, and applied geography and evaluation of tourist resources. And in the past, we had another 3 master studies who are not active now. We transformed them, and some of the topics that we tackled them were introduced in the actual master studies. Beside them, we had at some point for over, I think, 8 years, master studies on sustainable development and enhancement of coastal ecotourism littoral area. we started at the faculty in 1990s, and since then we have a lot of promotion of students. Many of them are from that promotions. Some of them are active now in schools and high schools in Constanța County, Tulcea County, Brăila County, Galați, all over the southeastern part of Romania. And most of them developed, because we keep in touch, developed some particularly special courses of problems related with the environment. So they understand that these goals that we find now in the Sustainable Development Strategy of Romania and the European Union, they understand to apply them at local level. And if we try to make some analysis of these goals for each undergraduate programs and master studies, we find that a percent of from 2%, from 6% to 47% of disciplines are related in one way or another with sustainable development. We have only two disciplines strictly related with sustainable development in biology, but the biology had linked with numbers of goals, high number of goals from this sustainable development strategy. Also, the undergraduate program of geography and tourism, geography of tourism, is also linked with a great number of these goals, and the disciplines are more related with this strategy. So at the undergraduate level, we had we produced, can I say so, specialists that are able to understand each of these goals, and they are able to promote them to the others. For the master programs, we go a step forward, and if you see here, we have for all the 5 master programs a number of 6 or 7 goals from the same strategy. Because of the particular domain of our faculty, it's normally that most of the goals are linked with the environment, the water, the sea, the climate action, the sustainable consumption, sustainable cities, and because we have these particular domains. But I must say that not only in our faculty we have something like this. We have in our university other faculties like economics and medicine and law and other one that are linked in a way one and another with the goals of this strategy. So in our university we can prove that the future specialists, future teachers are able to understand this complex problem. We try to keep them in touch with the environment. We try to take them on the border of the sea, in the forest, in the protected areas, in the non-protected areas, to see the effect of human impact there, and for 4 of our disciplines, for biology, ecology, geography, and geography of tourism, we have a special activity each year to show them the real problems of the environment in the nature. Of course, last year we didn't have a very well structured field activity because of the pandemic, but we try to manage. In some case we go outdoor with a small group of students, and we keep the touch with others with the electronic devices, and do our best to keep them in touch with the environment. You cannot teach the problem of the environment inside. You have to get the student outside to show them, to put the hand and to understand better what means that erosion or pollution or impact of an invasive species or something like that. And in the end, if we made statistics of the graduate students of our master programs in 1996 to 2019 period, we find that almost 2,000 of them are able to understand these problems. And I'm very glad that in the institution, the research institution, in museums, in environmental protection agency, in school, in high schools, we have absolvents for all this kind of master degree studies or undergraduate one. And in the end, I hope that even this, it is a photo with a cloudy sea, but I think that the situation is not so cloudy. I prefer to see the full part of the glass, and I think that our faculty would be a source of future graduated promotions of specialists in this field. Anyway, it's very hard to discuss them, and it's very difficult for me because if I take the goals side by side, I can talk for hours, but it is not the idea. Anyway, thank you very much for your patience, and if you have some questions, I'm here to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Skolka, and thank you for this very brief introduction on the activities of the Faculty of Natural Sciences. The Ovidius University of Constanța is one of the 3 public universities here in Constanța. The other one is the Maritime University, that is more specialized on the training and professional education of seafarers, deck officers and engineers, but also activities related to the port operations and other activities related to the sea. The other institution is the Naval Academy, having also a department for civilian type of programs. So from that perspective, the universities here in Constanța are very connected to the sea and to the blue growth activities. Within these 3 public institutions, of course, the Ovidius University is the largest one, with almost 17,000 students with 16 faculties. And between these 16 faculties, let's call it the backbone of sustainable development is connected or established at the Faculty of Natural Sciences. But we have to mention also that there is a Faculty of Civil Engineering, where there are activities to, let's say, hydrotechnical works and activities related to let's say, soil engineering and activities connected in some sense to the shore areas. Then we have the Faculty of Mechanical, Industrial and Maritime Engineering that is offering also programs related to naval architecture, to shipboard equipment, to port operations and offshore activities. But also we have the Faculty of Applied Sciences that is also connected to activities of process engineering, of physics and chemistry. So besides of that, of course, even at the Faculty of Economical Studies or the School of Law, in all of them there are activities connected in some sense to blue growth. So from that perspective, we have to mention that the universities here in Constanța are let's say, a very important resource, not only for the teachers, but also for the companies, for the citizens, for all other institutions that are willing, are interested, are in need of contacting experts and people who are, let's say, well familiarized with the problems of the Black Sea from many different perspectives. So on the other side, of course, very near to Constanța is also the Galați city, where there is the faculty of Lower Danube from Galați, and with branches in Brăila, a university that was dedicated to studies related to these problems of sustainable development, with an emphasis on river problems. But we have to mention that the programs dedicated to fisheries and fishing engineering, also biotechnologies and activities related to offshore engineering, have been also developed at the faculty of Galați. Besides these two important, let's say, university centers in the neighborhood of the Black Sea, we have also the universities from Bucharest, but also from Craiova, that are also connected to problems related to blue growth. So from this perspective, we may say that it is a chance that we have the Black Sea Universities Network bringing all these universities together and offering the chance of, let's say, one-stop shop. So you could address directly from the website bsun.org the connection with all these resources. And in the last period, starting, let's say, of course, we can see that since 1998, when the network was established, the area of blue growth was at that time we were talking about sustainable development. Later on, it was hammered, this syntagma, blue growth. But since the beginning, this problem of let's say, environment protection, the problem of opportunities offered by the sea and so on, were traditional problems of this network. So once again, thank you for your support. Thank you for the activities that you are developing at the Faculty of Natural Sciences. So as we have presented, we have initiated, we conceived these master courses as, let's say, type of, let's call it an agora, where different type of professors, experts, scientists from different universities, from different research organizations, from different other partners, they are coming in the front of students and they are offering the best experience that has been accumulated on a specific topic. So for that reason, the course on microbiology and genetic engineering was conceived in two parts. So the first day was conceived to introduce the microbiology aspects in the way that, in the last year, we discovered that all around us, there are billions of viruses and bacteria and different other, let's call it aliens, that are surrounding us, are fighting with us without having knowledge about that. And in all this process, what is happening in our interaction with the air, with the water, with the soil is always mediated by this huge unknown population of bacteria and viruses, many of them even unknown and undiscovered yet. So from that perspective, we wanted to draw the attention in the first day about this problem of the fact that the blue has sometimes some dangers. So when we enter into a water, we have to know that in that specific water, there are some, let's say, populations of bacteria, viruses, of microalgae and microorganisms that we don't see, and they are present there, and without knowing, they are interacting with us. So from that perspective, it was a presentation that was prepared by Professor Lepădatu. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. So at present, she is in a very difficult, let's say, health situation, and we hope that she will recover very soon. But in her presentation, she made a summary of the types of microorganisms that are present in water. The most specific type of these organisms that are, let's say, in many cases are not interacting with the human beings, but also the way in which they are interacting. And from that perspective, the experience that Mrs. Lepădatu had also at the Public Health Directorate here in Constanța, where she worked for a long period, and at present she has also connections with the activities of this directorate. It would be a good incentive. So for all of you, you will receive on the website, for those who are registered, you will have the opportunity to download the presentation of Mrs. Lepădatu. And if you will have questions and so on, of course, you will be able to interact directly with her and put questions and have answers on that. What is extremely important is that, of course, this activity of public health in coastal waters, particularly in those where are for swimming area, this is very well regulated. So according to the regulations that are within the entire European Union, and of course they are also implemented here in Romania, there is a responsibility of the government via this authority that is the Public Health Directorate, the Regional Public Health Directorate, that has to evaluate and monitor the presence of different type of bacteria in the waters. So for the Romanian Black Sea coast, this activity is centered on the summer season. So usually every year in the month of May, so before the starting of the summer season, there is the moment of starting the prelevation of water samples. There is a clear map of fixed locations for sampling. So there are 48 such fixed points along the beaches of the Black Sea, and there are even 2 beaches that have been not yet legally defined as public beaches, but even those are under monitoring here by this public health inspectorate. They are taking care of the process. So in May, they are evaluating the status of infectious risks that are along the beaches of the Black Sea on the Romanian side, of course. Based on this evaluation, there is a public meeting when this authority is coming in the front of all citizens and institutions that are interested and presenting the status. And then there are also presented the vaccination possibilities for those who are, let's say, interested to be vaccinated. And further on, this activity is continued on a monthly basis on each of these 48 locations, particularly for two types of bacteria, and we are talking about E. coli and Enterococcus. So these are the monitoring type of analysis that is done. There are also activities on a weekly basis. For the weekly base activities, they have split the Black Sea coast in two parts, the northern and southern part of the Black Sea, and they are following a system of monitorization for weekly samples. And of course, this activity is also, it can be immediately run into emergency cases if there are present some, let's say, emergency situations, the presence of a raise of concentration of the presence of E. coli or other situations like this. So with this said, as I was saying, you could have this detailed information on further communication. And now I would like to kindly invite Dr. Elena Stoica, that is the head of Department of Laboratory for Microbiology from the Romanian Institute for Marine Studies, Grigore Antipa, located also here in Constanța. Dr. Stoica, she has a doctorate, a PhD degree in microbiology, and she presented the approach that in some sense is preparing the ground for the discussions tomorrow. So we wanted to evaluate and to understand the way in which the genetic type of techniques can be, let's say, connected also and could support the epidemiologic type of evaluations in order to support this activity of public health and safety. So, Dr. Stoica, you have the floor. And once again, thank you for accepting our invitation.
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you also, Professor Mahmoud, for your invitation to be involved in this master course, which is very interesting and welcome for the Black Sea region, but not only, and the student also. It's a pity indeed, because my colleagues couldn't attend the meeting because we completed each other with the presentation, and therefore my presentation will be short trip in this assessment of microbial water quality of the Black Sea with new approaches. So I hope I will have another possibility to present for the students more detailed courses, if they are of course interested about this. But now just let me to make that short trip.
So, Dr. Stoica, can you hear me? So there is a...
Why it's important, what data we have, and what we have to do in the future.
So, Dr. Stoica, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Please.
So there is a problem of connection. Maybe it will be better if you close the video and keep only the audio.
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but there is a tremolo.
Hello? Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but in some moments there is a problem with the voice. Is disturbed. So for that reason, if you can close the camera and use only the audio.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you, but the voice is disturbed. So it's very difficult to follow.
Hello, can you hear me? Seems not to be the good one. Yeah, I see. But now it's better now?
Now it's better. Yeah. But as I said, maybe you,
Okay, so
maybe
okay.
Maybe you can close the...
So I try to close the camera. I propose just to follow. The presentation will become better. I'm not sure if you hear me. Okay, so I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry, this is the connection. I'm really sorry. So I closed the camera, but I cannot do other things to improve it. So let's try to do my presentation this way. Otherwise, we have to postpone. I don't know.
Okay, so let's go on.
Okay, so as I said before, it's a pity because my colleagues couldn't do her presentations, because my presentation was a part of just complete their presentation regarding the microbial water quality for the Black Sea. And because of the time constraints, the presentation is not full of details, but this is like a trip shown to the student and the audience why we need to do and what we have and what we have to do in the future on this topic. Next slide, please. So, marine bacteria community, as Professor Mahmoud said shortly before, are divided in non-pathogenic species and pathogenic one, which also are divided in allochthons, and that means externally introduced, and indigenous. Next, please. Microbial pathogenic bacteria, they're found in coastal marine habitats, like free-floating through the seawater column and are called planktonic, and also attached to the different surfaces, marine animals, phytoplankton, zooplankton, sediment, and so on. They can cause a broad spectrum of human and animal infection disease and choose affect marine ecosystem functioning and health status. Pathogenic bacteria in the seawater usually are detected by both cultivation-based method, but in the last year, I could say decade, they were involved new methods which are independent of cultivation. Next, please. The Black Sea. Everyone, I hope, heard that the Black Sea is unique marine environment, and it is the most isolated sea from the old ocean. Unfortunately, it is very vulnerable to the pressure from the land-based human activity, and therefore its health is equally dependent from the coastal and non-coastal state of its basin. The thin upper layer of marine water, up to 150 to 100 meters, supports the unique biological life in this sea, and the sea provides specific environment for many species and non-pathogenic and pathogenic bacteria. Next, please. What we can see about the pathogenic microbes in the Black Sea. Even there's data accumulated until now, the current data available on microbial pathogens in the Black Sea region is still limited. For decades until now, the assessment of quality of the Black Sea marine environment is performed at national level monitoring programs under the regulation. In our case, because we are EU country, is regulated by bathing water directives and also shellfish water directive. As Professor Mahmoud summarized before my presentation, there are two types of bacteria which are determined or assessed to have an idea and to know if the bathing waters are properly for touristing and activities. So they are intestinal enterococci and E. coli. And these are determined by culture-based enumeration and detection methods, which are usually called FIPS. Next, please. However, the cultivation method, FIPS, has some limitations because they do not provide insights on possible occurrence on other microbial contaminants, for example, or are prone to false negative results that could arise from the failure to resuscitate viable but non-cultivable cells. Because of this, we need to apply improve and better techniques. Next slide, please. And therefore, during the last 10, 20 years, were developed molecular biology tools which are independent for cultivation. And they also are classified in different groups. One big groups are methods based on PCR. I guess everybody, because even we are unfortunately in the pandemic times, and almost everybody heard that PCR is the method which allow us to identify SARS-CoV. So PCR-based methods are also used before for determination of bacteria which are pathogenic for organisms, for human and animals, and could also be found in the sea. These methods, these kind of methods based on PCR, polymerase chain reaction, allow detection and quantification of specific pathogenic bacteria. This method targets DNA extracted from environmental samples, which is then subjected to analysis for the presence or abundance of genes from indicator species or pathogen of the interest, and then allow for more fine-scale taxonomic identification by using a small subunit ribosomal RNA genes. In our case, because we're talking about bacteria, is 16S ribosomal RNA gene. PCR-based detection and quantification of organism and environmental DNA has proven useful for enumeration of sewage indicators. And one DNA-based method is already approved for quantification of the fecal indicator Enterococcus. And this is approved by US Environmental Protection Agency. Next slide, please. For this category of molecular methods, there are some data accumulated for the Black Sea. The literature review indicated that the microbial pathogen of the most predominant culture fish species at the Black Sea were obtained by a combination of classical cultivation methods and traditional molecular techniques, these PCR techniques and Sanger sequencing. And here you have some example of papers which publish results at the Black Sea for pathogenic microbes identified with these PCR-based molecular methods. Next slide, please. Beside that group of independent cultivation method, there is another one, high throughput sequencing approach, also known as next generation sequencing, NGS, which is a powerful new tool for obtaining information about nucleic acids. Allow massively parallel analysis of DNA or RNA sequence information from PCR amplicons or environmental nucleic acid. They're faster and more accurate in identification of species and decrease dependence of cultivation and morphological taxonomic expertise. In this category are included the earlier 454 pyrosequencing from Roche, the better optimized Illumina, Solexa, the ion torrent, and the single molecule real-time sequencing technology, but also the recent improved Illumina MySeq. Next, please. The high-throughput sequencing approach used for the Black Sea identification of pathogenic microbes. What we found, the information resulting from DNA NGS sequencing is not included yet in the current Black Sea status assessment program. So the monitoring is still performed with the cultivation method, which I just presented briefly in the beginning of my presentation, and also Professor Mahmoud said before. There is a widespread recognition of the importance of this approach, and increasing number of regional projects at the moment generate sequence-based bacterial community diversity inventory. And I can say, like example, MARCI BCRNet project, M+1, M+2, and M++, which was funded by UNDP. Next slide. So the results which were obtained for the Black Sea in terms of pathogenic microbes using NGS sequencing approach. It was a study. We could say the first study to assess the presence and diversity of pathogenic bacterial community in inshore and also offshore Black Sea waters, which shown an unprecedented diversity of pathogenic bacteria dominated by actinobacteria, alpha protobacteria, and gamma protobacteria, which variate in relative abundance between species and regions. This first study was published in 2018, and I was involved in this with other co-authors in a prestigious journal of CS. Next, please. What we found, as I said, we applied these techniques for coastal but offshore. In the coastal Black Sea, we were looked for Black Sea pathogenic bacterial diversity at different trophic conditions, meaning under the influence of the Danube, which is more estuarine, but also coastal to southern part, which it's more saline then. So, and we found that among the major bacterial phylum containing pathogenic species, actinobacteria and alpha protobacteria were the most common estuarine waters. And gamma protobacteria dominated the coastal Black Sea. Mycobacterium and Erythrobacter, containing, of course, pathogenic species, our targets, form the most abundant genera of microbial community from the Danube estuarine waters. We also found that Vibrio and Aeromonas form a diverse and dynamic genera of pathogenic microbial assemblages from the Romanian coastal waters. Also, 2 gamma protobacterial pathogenic strains related to Aeromonas were found to be relatively large, make a relatively large percent to the total bacterial contribution. Next slide, please. Using this NGS sequencing approach, we found the presence of pathogen in offshore of the Black Sea. Until then, no information was available on occurrence of pathogenic bacteria in open marine waters. We did the study in the late May, early June 2016, and we found 29 taxa harboring potential pathogenic species present at different water columns depths. Here in the right side, you have the species found, and according with the water column depths. So interesting, we also found in the hydrogen sulfate zone of the Black Sea. So the pathogenic bacterial community observed in the offshore waters were dominated by Streptomyces, Brucella, and Pseudomonas. These microorganisms have previously reported in various inshore regions of the world, ceased mostly in water samples close to the coast, so no in the offshore. But with these techniques, we found to be present even in there. Next slide, please. So, like a conclusion, by using this high throughput sequencing approach, we obtaining bacterial O2s that show a high throughput tools are needed. These tools are needed to determine the pathogen bacterial diversity in the Black Sea. But in order to become useful tools for the Black Sea water quality monitoring purpose, we need long-term sequence data collection and management in established databases that will be important for inter-laboratory data comparison and comparative metagenomics. Open for the future, near future. So we have a lot of work to do with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stoica. It was really a very nice presentation. Of course, any kind of new things are opening new questions. So
Yes.
From that perspective, yes, first of all, your research activities in the estuarian and the influence of the waters from the Danube exit, the connectivity with the shore area, but also it was very interesting the aspect that you mentioned going into deep waters and trying to identify the microbial, let's say, traces in the deep waters. So what kind of depths have you succeeded to reach? So up to which depth you went with the sampling in waters?
Yeah, I don't know exactly right now, but it was around 1,000 and some hundred meters.
Ah, that's
So
really impressive.
I don't know exactly now, but yes, higher than 1,000 meters.
And from that sampling activities, you developed them just in the front, on the western part of the Black Sea. You didn't extend it for other areas.
No, it part of the results were obtained, as I mentioned, of course, briefly, were obtained in the frame of MBLAS project, which organized cruise starting from the Romanian coast and just cross the middle part of the Black Sea until the Batumi, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's a really a very important aspect that has to be further developed. And the point that you mentioned in the last slide, showing the need for having long-term data acquisition and observations over a very long time spans, and also coordination of the activities with the other research groups around the Black Sea. This will be extremely important. So do you have some plans in this field? Do you have something like a system of organizing the sampling process, or is just related to some projects?
At the moment, was just related to some projects. MBLAS was a good opportunity because it was cover many years and involves at least 3-4 countries from the Black Sea. But yeah, it stopped, and we depend on the finance through the calls and programs for which will fund or focus on this kind of research. But yeah, important is, of course, to find the resource and the call, but also to create, I could say, to create a network of institutions interested in such of research. Institution meaning university and a research institution around the Black Sea, but maybe not covering all countries. So we're open to create this network and to be ready. When you found the money, I mean the financial support, just to start work on properly work with all country around. Yes.
Yeah, this is a very important issue because, as I was mentioning, the specificity of the Black Sea is a semi-closed sea, and a semi-closed sea is much more complex than the other type of marine ecosystem. So here we have the Danube and the other rivers that have been mentioned that are bringing many types of bacteria families, let's call them like this. Different types of cultures like that are connected to the exit of these estuaries of the rivers, but also a very important topic and unique, I would say, is the presence of the hydrogen sulfide and the deep, let's say, abyssal water life of bacteria. So are any other research, systematic research activities on the identification of the bacteria in the abyssal waters in the presence of hydrogen sulfide?
Well, during the MBLAS project, because it was I said before, cover long years, not very long, but enough. They organized 3 cruises, which crossed the Black Sea in the middle part and could collect samples, very good samples. And we, beside of using NGS sequencing for determination of species, pathogenic species, we also applied eDNA, which is the last tools which allow you environmental DNA, which allow you to identify not only bacteria, but we'll cover, because we're talking about the anoxic deep waters, so we are talking about bacteria now. So using eDNA techniques on that samples already collected, we can have the first pictures, more complete pictures of the bacteria prokaryotes, I could say, in the Black Sea.
Yeah, this is fundamental to my opinion, because I know that always when we are looking in some textbooks about the Black Sea, always there are references to some research activities in the 80s from the Soviet period, research activities. I didn't see some fresh data and some new approaches to these aspects. And the abyssal waters of the Black Sea, it's a huge terra nova, an unknown for the scientists for many decades.
Yeah, indeed, agreed.
Yeah, so on the other side, there are extremely high dangers. So it was revealed in some papers some years ago about the fact that during the Soviet period, they were left different type of wastes, some of them extremely poisoning wastes that have been left on the bottom of the sea in different sarcophags just to get rid of those substances, and there are also many other activities that are continuing even at present with all these problems of waste management and so on. So from that perspective, I think it should be a very, how can I say, strong activity in organizing this network and supporting the activities on microbial, and not only microbial, also aspects of connectivities with different other value chains in these ecosystems. So from that perspective, if Professor Skolka is also here, Marius, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
I was wondering if there is not an opportunity to strengthen a little bit the connection between the faculty and the institute, and to how can I say, organize some systematic activities involving the students from PhD programs, also from master programs in this area of mapping what has been done during the projects, and the presentation of Dr. Stoica is extremely valuable, but this unfortunately has to be continued on a very hard work. You know, you need a huge volume of data and samples that has to be continuously generated, prepared, processed, and further on even stored for that. And now you know that there is also this initiative, the EOSC, the European Open Science platform, that also requires and has the opportunity to organize something like that. Do you think it is possible to have such a partnership between the faculty and the institute in this area?
Yeah, I don't think it's impossible, because you see, we have two advantages. We have already a partnership with the Marine National Research and Development Institute as a faculty, and also some of the specialists from the institute are our former students. In last years, we have an interesting partnership regarding the field activity, field practice of the students in the institute, and we can develop something like this. Because of the pandemic, in the last year we stopped this change of students, not only with the Marine Research Institute, but also with the Geology and Ecology Marine Research Institute. But it's very interesting, because we have to if we have the data, we cannot pass away about the idea to put them together and make them available to all of us. I think is not a problem, and maybe we should discuss together how we can do this.
So we would like to invite you to join us into a endeavor that we are starting as the Black Sea University Network to organize an observatory of scientific research and evidence data on blue growth in the Black Sea. So this, let's say, observatory, of course, it's a virtual observatory.
Yeah, exactly.
The observatory is just a repository, a database, presenting, not bringing data into that specific repository, but just making the connection.
Exactly. Yeah.
To the place of existing data. For instance, it might be something proprietary by different institutions, for instance, the Grigore Antepa Institute, or by your faculty, or by different other laboratories, the public health directorate that have also this monitoring data. So all these sources are brought in let's say, web-based service, where different interested let's say users, they could log in. Of course, it will be an authentication system, and based on that, it will be possible to have access to all these kind of sources of information. So we have to say that in the Black Sea region, there is a scarcity of funds for systematic observations and monitoring. Unfortunately, the countries around Black Sea in many cases consider that some other problems are very important and not necessarily these kind of things. But there are also these opportunities coming from the EU where it is possible also to have the possibilities of funding that. So we have established already between the BSUN and the European grid infrastructure, we have already the pattern of this observatory, and it is just the need to start, because of course when we say blue growth, it is a huge let's say plethora of different topics, but there are some topics that are very, very important, and this aspect of public health and the security of life in the areas of bathing, because I'm taking, for instance, my grandson who has 2.5 years, and I'm bringing him to the waters without knowing that actually I am poisoning and I'm exposing the kid to different dangerous microorganisms. So from that perspective, it is very important to have all these data, to have experts like Dr. Stoica that are processing them, and they are issuing some warnings and reports. So, Dr. Stoica, what do you think about our proposal?
Your proposal is very welcome, and I personally agreed, and I'm happy you invited. And yeah, sure. Me and my small laboratory in terms of human resources, which indeed are your formerly students, we are open for this kind of collaboration, of course, and not only with the university, as you said, with the other institutions which are involved in this aspect of microbial analysis in terms of pathogenic, but not only pathogenic, also but from biotechnological point of view, which also touch the blue growth topics. Yeah, we definitely, me personally, but I'm sure the institution also agree such of collaboration, thinking about our previous very good collaboration.
Yeah, I had to add something. You see, we have in the university a very valuable resource. We have students, we have master students. In this particular period, we cannot develop some field activities or even field research. Something like this is very important too, because we have a huge amount of data that are not available. And personally, I am involved into some initiative like this. One for the future national park in Carpathians, and the other one in the other protected area. So it's very nice idea to have all the data together, put it on the topics, maybe on the goals of the sustainable development the strategy, who knows, and you can dig this on the internet, and also we can find data on the blue on the gray literature. Then where you have to identify the topics and to put the data together. And we can, I think, for the university, it's a very interesting idea to not involve only our faculty, but also other faculties who can enter in this project. I think it's a very good idea.
Thank you. As I was saying, we have this project that is running, the Black Sea Connect, that is supporting this kind of activity. The resources that are allocated are very limited, but we have different other projects that are running. I told you about this partnership with the European grid infrastructure, and we have this huge opportunity with the European Open Science Cloud that is open to all, let's say, EU member states. and we shall be able to, let's say, accommodate these kind of initiatives. But it cannot be an initiative from one single institution. It should be an orchestrated action. And I would like to tell you, for instance, we had a project with the University of Bucharest and with the Institute of Virusology of the Romanian Academy and so on. And I was extremely shocked learning that even there are missing data on available tools for analysis. So it will be enough if we shall be able to make a map of different laboratories. For instance, laboratory for certified, let's say, third stage of microbial security, biosecurity certification. So in Romania, at the moment, there are 2 laboratories like that. And I know how difficult it is to have access to these laboratories. So we probably it would be a fantastic support to develop this kind of, how can I say, database with types of identification methods, with types of laboratory personnel that are certified in Turkey, in Ukraine, or in Russia and Bulgaria. So to be able to share with them some of the samples, because the distance is quite accessible. You don't need to send them to Poland or to Germany just for different type of identification and so on. So from that perspective, I was thinking that this area of, let's say, microbiology, involving, of course, first aspects of bacteria, but in the perspective also for virusology or aspects related to gene, let's say, engineering, it will be a very good approach. And with this, I would like once again to kindly ask the participants if they have some questions they can put on the specified Q&A button, so they can write their questions and we could reply them. If there are some other comments, Evie, would you like to say something at the end?
Yes, it was very interesting to hear all these details from the session, and I think it's very important to involve schools in the process of gathering data. It is, of course, not easy to make sure that the data is very solid, but there are ways. There are a lot of projects in Europe that work very well, as long as you make it very easy. For students and teachers. So since you have to develop such a large data set, I think you need to involve the entire population of the Black Sea.
And what is much more important than obtaining effective results is to teach. And you remember Professor Skolka presented at the beginning that he had the luck of having a professor who guided him to the life sciences, you know, and now he's an expert in this field, and he's telling us so many things about different type of crustacea and different type of zooplankton and, and things like that. And this was possible to have such a person experienced in this field because of a professor. So this is a very important aspect, because involving the pupils, the students from the schools, they will probably, the data they will produce will be not useful necessarily, but then they will like to make it and they will follow let's say, an education in this field. And this is fantastic. This might be fantastic. Thank you, Eddie, for this suggestion. So with all this said, we would like to say that the meeting tomorrow, it will be a very special one. We shall have the chance to follow Professor van der Oost, who is one of the, let's say, fathers of this CRISPR technique. And actually, he was even nominated for Nobel Prize, but there were other, let's say, researchers that took that and so on. But in any case, what we would like to say that tomorrow we shall look to the other side of the problem, how we could influence those very micronic, unseen type of bacteria and algae and different other organisms at that level by modifying them in order to be our friends and our support. So from that perspective, it will be a very interesting presentation. The starting time is the same. The connection is the same. So we kindly ask you, if you meanwhile would have some questions and so on, do not hesitate to address them, because in some sense we would like to keep this group continuing the exchanges of question, answers, comments, and so on. So once again, thank you for participation. Thank you to all followers and those who have followed these presentations, and see you tomorrow.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.